because there is my month, my birthday month, and in my home there are three of us, who are celebrating birthdays in February. Talk about myself, my husband, and my first born. So I love February so much, and the fact that I was born in the month of love, Valentine. So don't worry, don't be, look at me this way, you know that I'm born in the color of love, because I'm surrounded with love. I like to from a body's perspective, otherwise I would say television, I'm excited. You know what, now don't talk I don't bet, So in the next few days, say 18th will be my birthday. My son is 17 and my husband is 20th. I'm going to clap for you now. Only happy birthday in advance. Thank you very much. Please go ahead.
Yes, it's the month of love, and it's that DJ. But there's something I want to put out there. When we talk about Valentine, it's not just a day set aside for lovers. It's a day to appreciate those people that have been around you.
Yes.
It's a day to put a smile on people's face.
It's showing love.
It's showing love, but it's not just for love.
It's not the day you start doing all the.
You understand? That's what I'm going to say. It's a day that you show love to family, friends, and even to those in need.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not just a day that is set aside for lovers to do for 9 months later that the result will come. As people tend to think, because right now I can see a girl that is probably out there say, tomorrow go hot. And then the guy is saying, tomorrow, for me and my babe. So also celebrate your mother, celebrate your father, celebrate your friends, celebrate your colleagues at work, those people that make work environment peaceful for you, those people that make even on your street, there are some people, maybe those keke drivers, the bike riders, that sees you in the morning and say, let me offer you a ride. So people that have shown you care, love, and appreciated you, it's that day you appreciate them too.
Thank you for that.
Shade? Yeah, good morning. Yes, it's the month of, I particularly love this month. Yes, because I have a number of persons born in the month of February as well. Yes, my very beautiful niece too. Her birthday is even tomorrow. So, but then, I also love the month of February. Puts an end to that long January.
The month of the smallest day.
Yes, and it comes briefly, It's loads of love. It's like Alice said, we don't actually has to be kind of romantic love. We can show love to people, and the best kind of love we can even show to people, to those who can't, do you the same favor. And please don't tell me love is expensive. You don't have to buy a gift. What about a smile? Smiling on someone could be an act of love to the person. Because person will just be like, oh my, it's lovely, she just smiled at me, like that. So please smile at people, be kind, be nice, as a boss. You could decide to turn it down. Yes, tomorrow no sanctions, no queries, okay. And finally it's Saturday, so there will be less of official work tomorrow. But then I have to remind those people on essential duties too. It's not a time to abscond from your duty post and say, it's not a public holiday. And so show love by doing your work tomorrow as well.
Yes, so I totally agree with all you said. Show love by doing what is right. When we say Valentine's Day is not a day for the under 15, under 16, under 17, when you're not married particularly, to feel I have a boyfriend, tomorrow go hot, it go red. I saw a video yesterday, a guy who dreamt, he was sleeping, he dreamt that his girlfriend came all dressed up with flower, and then after that the girl started giving him money for being so nice to me. Take this, for always loving me, take this, take this for mommy, take this for daddy, and she was showering him with money. At the end of the day he woke up. Wow. So sometimes especially women, we have this knack for always expecting from the men, especially married women. You always want my husband that must give me gift today. Yeah, we've talked so much about others, but don't always expect. Also try to give as a woman. Don't always be the one kind of like a kind of a person. Also do something. A surprise. Give your husband a surprise, your father a surprise, your brothers surprise them. Okay, it's very important. So as we celebrate Valentine, to my word, negotiable. It is not negotiable at all. Please put a smile on someone's face.
Yeah, and to the young girls, please, your body is not a gift
at all
to be given to someone. Your virginity is not a gift.
I like the fact that you said that just after when she said put a smile on someone's face and give someone a gift. And I like the fact that was the
It's true to say, if you love me, you're going to do this after all. No! Tell the person, they have to wait. Oh, that song, Sunny Ade and
if you love me, you go wait for me.
Because
if you love me,
don't put yourself on an unexpected 9 months journey to your education, your dreams, on hold, and putting your family in shame just because somebody says, if you love me, you do this. No, nowhere the love ends.
Yes.
If you are in a platonic relationship, tell the guy, we're not ready for this. And you guys can take yourself out, have some nice time, but it doesn't have to be sharing your bodies. That's all we have to do.
Tomorrow is not the day you lose your virginity.
Yes.
Keep it. Hold it tight. God, it with your life.
And everything after I've lost it, or some will say, after all you are not. Still keep yourself. Yes.
Okay. Tomorrow it's for people.
Also married women, couple, go ahead.
And see, tomorrow is the day you take yourself to a special place. I mean, leave children out of this. Two of you, one together. You can decide to go and become at all. Show yourself what they love in the this earth.
I feel young again.
Remember how it was when you met. How it all started. All that the mango tree. Alright, welcome once again to the program Perspectives. I will take a break now. When we come back, I will do it. If you don't know, in case you just tuned in to Osrc television, we start with after this our paparazzi. We start with the newspaper headlines. We'll take you through the journey, the dailies for today. Then we'll go to our focus. Of course, there are trending stories for you to enjoy. So quite a lot. You're in with the ladies. That makes a Friday. Starts your day with you on Friday and make you stay there to put you on the high pedestal and you'll not come down. Sure you understand now? I saw you later for Lasha Day. See as where I am, Remy Allen. Straight, we'll go take a break. Welcome back. We'll go straight to the dailies, and I'm starting this morning with the Daily Independent with the screaming headline: ISPs in Nigeria may close shop as telcos deploy satellite services. Okay, let me quickly take one. Okay, trying to see if I can take one or two paragraphs of the story. As internet service providers, ISP in Nigeria continue to face a troubling trend. There are concerns that they may soon become irrelevant, like the defunct code division, multiple access operators, the multi-links, the Starcoms, the retail, the Visa phone, among others, as leading telecom operators MTN, Glo, and Airtel, and T2, that's formerly Nine Mobile, are now deploying some of their services through satellites. I comment my reserve on that. NNPC pays 60.5 trillion naira revenue, 3.76 trillion naira profit. Go to page 7 of the Daily Independent, you find the full story there. Mark says ADC will form government in 2027 as party begins membership drive. That full story is on page 29. Fubara dissolves cabinet, sacks aides. That's on page 7. U.S. lawmakers accuse Chinese miners in Nigeria of funding terrorism. That's a grave allegation, you know. Real-time e-transmission of poll results, not e-voting. Senate insists. Before we started this program, I remember Shade saying, my English with this have been written because transmission, transfer, we'll get to know. El-Rufai condemns illegal attempts to arrest him at Abuja airport. Okay, INEC seeks 874 billion naira to fund 2027 general elections. You can find the details on page 5. Sarah, Amnesty, 22 others urge federal government to let citizens access African Rights Court. You can find the details on page 29 of the Daily Independent. And finally, judge rescues self from EFCC case against Malami. That's on page 6.
Okay, moving on to Vanguard. My father treated corruption as an emergency, not talking points. This is coming from Aisha Mohammed Uyibodi, and details of that it's on page 12 and 16 of the Vanguard newspaper. Also, we have the security agents' attempt to arrest El-Rufai at Abuja airport. More of that story is on page 34. The U.S. accuses Chinese miners of funding terrorists in Nigeria. That's on page 6. ABC should consider Sultanate for 2027 presidency. That's coming from Amechi, and you can find that story on page 34. INEC seeks 873 billion naira for 2027 poll proposed 171 billion 2026 budget. That's on page 5. Power outage looms amid scheduled power plant maintenance. That's on page 19. Workers lay siege to NAFDAC office over sachet alcohol ban enforcement. That's on page 7. And lastly, Malami judge recurses self returns case filed for CJ for reassignment. That's on page 9, and that's all we have from the Vanguard newspaper.
From the Vanguard newspaper, we're going to check on The Guardian for this morning. The Guardian newspaper has this: National Assembly tightens grip on public finances amid 2027 election funding debate. You found details of this is on page 6 of the Guardian newspaper for this morning. And we also have this one, cases, a Japanese lesson in excellence, productivity for sluggish giants. Well, you find details of this is on pages 4 and 5 of the Guardian newspaper for this morning. Murtala at 50, African leaders trade blames over continent's woes and gerontocracy. You find the details of that on page 3 of the Vanguard newspaper. So on the Guardian, okay, we have this one. We must outgrow disregard for rule of law, El-Rufai says after attempted arrest. You find details of that on page 3 of the Guardian newspaper. And still on the Guardian newspaper, Senate, real-time results transmission does not translate to e-voting. So you have details of this on page 6 of the Guardian. And we have this one also, Okonkwo, lack of transit facilities undermining Nigerian airlines potential. You find details of that on page 26 of the Guardian newspaper. And lastly from the Guardian, 4.521 521 megawatts shortfall in nationwide power supply as gas facility undergoes repair. Details of that is on page 7 of the Guardian. That's it from the Guardian this morning.
Alright, moving to Nigerian News Direct. That's technology, network, infrastructure at the forefront as INEC proposes 873 billion naira for 2027 polls. Details is on page 2 of Nigerian News Direct. You have abandoned governance for globe-trotting lifestyle. That's coming from Oyetola, who tackled Adeleke. And Adeleke fired back, alleges woeful performance as governor. Two elephants fight. Alright, you can see that on page 5. BOI disburses record 636 billion naira to businesses, receives presidential nod. That is also on page 3 of Nigerian News Direct. CBN tightens check regulation, revises fine to 20 million naira. Jonathan urges African nations to prioritize leaders under 50. That's on page 13. El-Rufai alleges political intimidation amidst attempted airport arrest. That's on page 3. That's from the Nigerian News Direct newspaper.
Okay, moving on to Daily Trust. El-Rufai's airport drama rekindles crackdown claims. Tinubu will decide on e-transmission of electoral results, and that's coming from his aide. More condemnation trails US bill targeting Kwankwaso for visa ban. Jonathan Akume differ on age requirement for leadership. Workers abandon FCT Health Center over banditry. United Nigeria to acquire 11 aircraft begin flights to Jeddah. Fubara sacks commissioners. Then Murtala Mohammed, fading eyewitnesses, lingering memories, a special publication. Okay, that's all we have from the Daily Trust.
Alright, from the Daily Trust, let's check the Punch newspaper. Boldly written on the Punch newspaper this morning, NAS to harmonize electoral bill Monday. You find details of this on page 2, and writers to the story say Senate reps versions of bill face final reconciliation. Real-time results transmission not same as e-voting, says Senate. And we also have the story. Jennifer floods 50-year age gap for African presidents. 50-year age gap for African presidents. Does it mean African presidents should be 50?
Before they can become president?
No, probably the bar, you know,
okay.
what's about 50.
Okay, you can't be more than 50 to be president.
Okay, please to get details. Oh yeah, to get details of our story, but it's interesting anyway. You find the details of our story on page 7 of the Punch newspaper this morning. And we also have this one on INEC issues. INEC seeks nearly 1 trillion naira for 2027 elections. You find details of that on page 10 of the Punch newspaper. 2027, Atiku Fayose clash over Makinde's Mina visit. Why clash over another person's visit? I think every Nigerian is free to visit. As long as it's within legal frame, you know, well, they know what they're talking about. So you find details of that on page 7 of the Punch newspaper. And here we have this U.S. sanctions. China pushes back as federal government targets foreign illegal miners. Should we even have national illegal miners and much more of foreign ones? I mean, it shows the porosity of the country, yes, and the complicity that comes with the experience, the security threats that they're experiencing now.
It has a lot to do with we Nigerians, because usually we are the one who show these people the road. It is Nigeria that tells them, now like this, you need to do it like this.
Well, let's hope that this it now has to be US to sanction. It's
taking the lead.
Why is Nigerian government itself quiet about forcing the sanction? You understand? It has to take another nation to sanction. Sometimes we wonder at the scope of our sovereignty. Indeed. Okay, vandalism causing flooding on Lagos Calabar Highway. You find details of this on page 10. Vandalism to an ongoing construction. Nigerians, why are we like this? I mean, something that we're all hopeful for with the amounts of money that is being expended on these projects, and now something that is under construction, you're vandalizing it. When will it finish?
I saw the video of the flood, and I can tell you it was just a lot.
Goodness.
Yes, because a vehicle that was plying the road had to take a video that this is the state, the current situation of this road. And like I say, Nigerians sometimes, we tell everything we blame the government for.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Now with the report that says vandalism is the cause of this, that means it is still the residents and the citizens within that area that is doing this. And yet they are the ones still coming out to cry out to the government saying that our areas are being flooded.
You know, just like sometimes
our parts.
Yes, exactly.
As citizens, because everything will flow back to the government, like she said. But the truth is, the role we play sometimes is responsible for all of us. When government has spent so much money on something, and then you go spoil it, you go vandalize. The same way we vandalize our refineries, we vandalize every damn thing, and then we complain. You go even Adubos, your residential area, the transformer in Abuja, you go and vandalize, and you say there's no light.
Sometimes they go in Abuja, this manholes, you know, on the roads, these scavengers were removing the cover. They were removing the cover, the metal cover, until CCTV was installed, and probably some people made deterrents, and that's why that's ceased. And some people are also vandalizing railways.
Yes,
you know. So now it's the newly the road that is under construction. Please, let's stop it. Because how do we hold our politicians accountable? You know? And we still have this blackout fears grow over gas plant maintenance. You find details of that on page 23 of the Punch newspaper. Footballer fires commissioner. Assembly awaits new list. Right, we find details of that on page 42 of the Punch. And finally, from the Punch, police hunt abductors of 12-year-old Oyo schoolgirl. That will be from the Punch.
Alright, so we'll wrap up the newspaper review with Nigeria Tribune this morning because of our time. Mima visits, okay, you mentioned it earlier. Article false Fayoshi is a rider dismisses his claim as beer parlor tales of infamy. That's on page 3. LADBC launches service charter. DG calls for renewed commitment to local manufacturing, industrial self-reliance. Go to page 19 of the Nigeria Tribune, you get it there. Dangote refinery achievement could push Naira below 1,000 Naira to $1 before December. That's coming from Otedola. Good news there. That's good news if it's achievable. I think we'll be happier for it. Really, that's good.
Yes, I was discussing with someone and the person says, but cocoa farmers are not happy with that development.
Exactly.
It's really a price of cocoa. I was like, what? They should, come on, share up. Because that means they're also going to be buying other commodities they were buying at higher rate,
It will not come down, yes.
So it's still going to be a win-win.
Nigerians were selfish. El-Rufai reports to EFCC Monday, that's coming from his counsel, condemns attempt to arrest him at Abuja Airport. You can find details on page 5. U.S. Religious Freedom Bill, Kwanyesaya movement cries foul. Page 2. Gunmen kidnapped 12-year-old female student in Ibadan. 12 years.
Yeah, but I think the last
the police already called the man.
Yes. Okay. Alright, that's all. Okay, let me say this. Africa can't sustain democracy without young leaders. That's coming from Jonathan.
As bar for president.
Okay. So that's from our dailies this morning. We will take a break. I will come back. We'll move straight to the focus of today. Quite an interesting one. Please go nowhere. If you never go recharge your phone, please recharge because you have the opportunity to call in and share your thoughts on what we'll be looking at. Just stay with us. Welcome back. It's still Perspectives, and this is OSRC Television, where you know that you can join us on YouTube, you can join us on Facebook, and our social media pages. Go there, you can see us live as this program is ongoing. So going straight to the focus for this morning, in commemoration of Valentine's Day, which is tomorrow, that we talked so much about. We'll be looking at issues around family, love, and all of that. As we'll be looking at this morning, which is better?
Yeah, which is better to be right?
Marrying into hostile families. Which do you think?
We're talking about would you choose to marry a man that loves you as a yes, that loves you when his family doesn't love you, or a family that loves you even when their son doesn't quite, love you? Which one would you choose? Will you prefer
your in-laws to be hostile to you, or hostile, married to hostile family, and your husband or your wife,
your spouse,
so loving doting over you? Or is it a case of marrying the bad man? I think it's that says meaning that it's okay to have a bad husband, but if you have good in-laws,
that makes up for
it. If you marry a good, it's okay to marry a bad wife, in as much as you have good in-laws to make up for it. So looking at
can I come in?
Yes, you can come in, my dear sister.
Yes, I think it's obvious. The answer should be obvious. This should not be even a topic that should be debated on.
Yes.
I just say what is better? You're saying it's not debatable.
It's not debatable, because now the question is this: who are you living with? Is it the family or the husband?
The thing is,
so at the end of the day, if you marry a husband that is harsh and hostile towards you, and let's say the family now is in Ondo, your husband you're in Akure, do you understand? Where's the peace? How are they going to create? Where's the succor coming from? So I would prefer you marry a man that gives you peace. If the family is not, as long as the family does not even live with you, yes, you probably get to see them during festive season and all of that. No, in my own point of view, I feel it is way better you get married to a man that loves you, and maybe the family is hostile, than a family that loves you and the husband is hostile towards you.
Okay.
I think people have something contradictory.
No, see, not really contradictory.
Okay.
But at least a little bit to your side, because in this age and time where they even say third party, and even your parents are even third party, at the end of the day, when you are going through the wahala with the man or the woman, you find it difficult to complain to them, because especially for the woman, a man can still is a little bit at liberty to go discuss with his parents, which is not even good, because it's still third party. But if a woman does it, the man will still use it against you to say you took, especially if he's being lashed for what he did and all that. He will not take it easy with. In fact, it will be double of what he was giving you before. But the truth is, I also agree that when you have good in-laws, to a large extent, it can help the relationship, despite the fact that you don't live in the same place. You don't even have to live in the same city or town to be able to have to be able to relate with your in-laws. And also that depends on you as an individual. What kind of relationship did you build, or are you building with your in-laws? Because if you are also the me and my wife kind of man, or me and my husband kind of man, even the good in-laws you're having, you find it difficult reaching out to them at the end of the day, even when you're not treating them well. I'm sure Shadi.
The thing is that both ways is not okay. Yes, both ways is not okay. Because I've seen ladies who are married but do not even stay in the same states. They are states away from their in-laws and even their own parents. But the fire that is being prepared for them in that far away land, they feel it when they stay. You understand? In fact, across countries, I've had a friend who stays outside the country, but the problem the mother-in-law cooks in Nigeria, she feels it over there. And she will say, I don't know what I've done to this woman. See. Yeah, you know, the mama, she constantly feels it. And at the same time, you can't be with, I've also seen a lady who is married into a family where they love her, but the spouse is not so loving, and so she does not find it funny either. So either way isn't good. You understand? Either way isn't good. But the main point is, you know, why the boss, I think, why they said it's better to have in-laws who are nice, and even if the spouse is not nice, is because those days, you know, you live in community where even as a new wife, you even stay within Agbele, you stay within the extended family. Just imagine, only your husband. Will he always be around? You will need your sister-in-laws, brother-in-laws, mother. Everybody is able to hold it down. You know, hold the marriage down, despite the fact that there is so much destruction between the couple. But the parents put their foot down to say, look,
no matter what,
this lady stays. Yes, this man, you can't leave his house.
But then the question is, why would you even get married? Why would you even get married to a man that is hostile towards you?
Yes.
Sometimes it's born out of the fact that you don't even get to know the man enough.
You didn't make enough
research. You don't know him enough. You know, in this world of pretense, because of the need to, I want to get married. You know, especially when age is telling on you, or because you feel, oh, my friends are getting married. Even family pressure will also want you to go, you start thinking of marriage all of a sudden. You want to, no matter what. Exactly. And once the man comes, or the woman, you feel, I'm okay with this one. Oh, sure. And the lady is willing to marry me. Exactly. Shows just one part of her character that is good. And I've decided to hide all this from you. And because we didn't have, sometimes to long courtship, not the drama.
Then even in the course of marriage too, you could start well. So and in the course of marriage, things will go south.
For some people, they find it difficult coping under pressure. For example, it's been rosy when you start both parties working or whatever, especially the man loses his job, then he's unable to, a lot of things start happening. You start seeing the other side of him that you never knew ever existed. You know, and so it's not, sometimes it's not because you want to choose to marry a bad man.
Okay, I think I'm going to take it back now. And I say maybe that in-law part being good, and then the husband being
yes, you can change. Yes, you can. Some they start, you know, loving you. You understand? Then along the way, probably their son reported or their daughter reported something, or they saw something, and then they change towards you. And there are some that we've seen that they started bad. In fact, a friend once said that she has an auntie, when the auntie wanted to marry, when the man first visited their house, that their grandma was like, I don't like him at all. I don't even like his size. I don't want him. You can't marry of all your for real, of all the people you've been with, this is the one you want to settle with? No. That the old woman said it even to the hearing of the man. He said, but that man, it's like he was determined to work his way to that grandma's heart. And that today,
they're besties.
That before auntie will even hear that anything is happening, grandma will have downloaded everything to the man. So sometimes it's a two-way thing, but I would advise that in such situation, maybe you give it time to get to know
each other.
To get to know if it's your husband's relative or your fiance's relatives that are not, you know, family. Let me use the young people's they're not into you like that. They're not accepting you. I think it's better you let it cool down to really. I was big on it really. When I wanted to get married, I was like, no, I can't be married into a hostel. Especially mother-in-law, you know, because a lot was happening then, you know, so there's that some ladies will be like, I would rather not have one. Do you get? But I was like, no, it's good because I've seen my grandma, my mom, I love the relationship, and I wanted something like that, and I was so thanks that I had one. So it was
it's really important, really. like Shade said, go say it to down.
Kò sí ètò dà.
Man, hostile family. But we're asking this morning, is it worth it marrying into a hostile family? I will also expect your contribution on the program this morning. You can call us on 0706 325 5428. 0706 325 5428. Is it worth it marrying into a hostile family? Is it worth it? Do you rather prefer to marry into a family where you don't work or not? I love her.
2024, there was a popular one, a lady that married, and the guy's family went as far as releasing a press statement saying, we do not support the marriage between her son. I've forgotten the family. Can't you remember?
I'm trying to.
Yes. Do you know, as of last year, that same family have come to embrace them. The union after they had a child.
Yeah.
You know, so hey, what's this?
I think I know the story.
You know, that went ahead to release press statements saying, I'm just wondering, how does that lady, how
we talk about changes. Life is unpredictable.
Yeah.
You can see that they started off at the wrong foot, but right now they are the one coming out to even embrace this message.
Yes.
So the thing is, it's very difficult to even decide something.
And look at Two-Face and
Natasha and of course and Macaulay.
We have a call. Yes.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, beautiful ladies. You are wonderful. You are doing a good job.
thank you.
I'm always proud of the time I call in because when I show people in London that come and see my state. Unfortunately, you are the only program that don't call in. Can you advise your producer? We are 50 years. We should introduce more. They will bring commissioner on TV. They will not ask us in that one to call in for our state and ask them questions. They have a beautiful program, but they meet that point. Tell your producer, because I don't know their number, to call them. They're calling from London.
Alright.
Look at what you are discussing now. It's very important. I will say it in two ways. Now, if you are a couple that are going to live in Nigeria, make sure you gain the heart of your mother-in-law, most especially the siblings. Be friends with the siblings. Then you have to be prayerful. And once you are prayerful, and again, understanding and love is very important between you and your spouse. Very, very important. If both of you love each other, you understand each other, with prayer, you are deep in faith, then you must be on the same page. The marriage will survive. Then in diaspora, 75% marriage in diaspora, if it was to be in Nigeria, they would have separated. There will be divorce, automatic divorce. So, but because it's in diaspora, everyone is managing each other because you have to pay bills. You can't pay a loan. So, you have to, it's like some people just pretend and just play along. And another thing is that I know someone in America now, I'm in UK, the man cannot send money to his family in Nigeria. The wife did not know. So what he does is that he will tell his friend, help me to send money to my family. And he has warned his family not to call him and thank him. Because the wife knows it's a problem. And if you want to claim that he's a man, he is on his own. He will lose the marriage, lose the property, lose everything. So that's why I said that 35% of marriages in diaspora, if it was to be in Nigeria, they automatic divorce. They won't be together. So it depends where you are. If you are in Nigeria, be prayerful. That's very, very important. So nothing is perfect. No family is perfect. So God will uphold you people.
Amen.
I pray for you. God grant all your heart desire.
Amen. And just before you go, please, hello. Just before you go, you can also call fellow understated people, Nigerians in the diaspora to key into our program.
Yeah, I'm telling them, that's the complaint they make. Because they always watch when they bring commissioner, that man that do program, very important program. Nobody will call in. You just talk to them and go. That's not the way to do things. Let us ask them questions. Why are they spending our money? So I'm asking you now, until next week Friday again. Is that the way they operate? Or should television, they'll bring their commissioner, they will be calling, even me I call in.
Okay, we'll look into that.
All right. Thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. All right. Happy Valentine's to you. We look forward to seeing you when you come to Nigeria.
Yeah.
I'll be in Nigeria next month by God's grace.
You said so. All right. All right. Thank you so very much.
I'll be on your show.
Oh,
Like
we will definitely host you. All right. Have a nice day. Wow, that's it. Well, you see, sometimes too, location matters.
Having a good husband and marrying into a hostile family, but having a good husband, could work to an extent. For instance, if you're far away, or if the man is bold enough, to stand for you.
Yes.
Against his family.
If he's not a man,
if he's not bold enough,
the mother's apron, or a woman, the mama girl, because we have them.
Yes,
we always cry and go home to cry to the mommy. Daddy. But in most cases, the two parents don't operate the same way. In most cases. Yes. You always have a soft one.
Yeah.
So I still feel it is better you have your man by your side. If it's the woman that is even hostile, you will also see that you have your father tilting towards your husband, supporting your relationship. Both of them will not be totally hostile. But the danger of it most time is the siblings, like he said. It's the siblings.
Especially the ladies.
The ladies. You see that the girls, the ladies, will follow their mom.
Yes, they gang up.
He's mentioned something, and it's very key. Now I believe that prayer changes everything. You have to be prayerful. And then your love must be top notch. You must know that I love this man, I love this woman. We want to make this marriage work no matter what. And you're ready to bear all that comes today. I know your mind is, what is the essence of, wanting to, when you're not happy. I know happiness and peace of mind plays a lot of value when it comes to marriage. But that's why I said it's key for you to be prayerful.
Most of the time, you probably may want to start by what's causing the hostility.
Exactly.
You start.
My dear sister, sometimes nothing is causing it. They don't just like you, they don't like your face, they don't need you.
Yes, there are people like that. There is like the one I just gave that. The woman just saw him. I was like, I don't just like this one.
I don't like this one face.
I don't just like her. Then there are some people who have this stereotyping. Once a lady's leg, they shape in a particular way. Yes, they say, look at her heels. It's not touching the ground. Look at her forehead. Look at her eyeball. Look. And the list is endless. And they have this notion that whoever is looking this way, or whoever is from this place, you understand, whoever has this level of education, whoever practices this religion, whoever has this complexion,
exactly.
Some people can actually hate you for your complexion.
Yes. They
have all this, but thank God those ones are getting reduced now.
Because you know why? And it's also a danger. In the past, before you get married, so much will be done.
Yes,
investigations, information. You want to know the family, you want to do this, but now people just see each other and get married, and so all of this, the leg no touch ground, the color, all of that is no longer playing a major role.
But who knows, maybe he's even responsible for the large number of divorce separation we have now, maybe.
So that's why I said it has its danger. Yes, all of this is fading out, but we also know that it is important. It's even there you will know how hostile this family will be to you. And it's there you will decide, for the love of this man or this woman, do I want to make it work? What do I need to do? It is there you will know that, how do I begin to worm my way into their heart? Don't do this thing of, we love each other, Wait, I don't care.
Matter.
I don't care whether they like me or not. You and Swetchers, we both love each other.
You will have sleepless nights. That's just it. Sleepless night that you can't.
Let's go for break. It's time for news. We'll be back.
Hello and welcome to Developing Stories on Osrc Television. I am Obi Chukwemeka Oti. Ondo State Governor Lucky Aiyedatiwa has declared that democracy weakens when the rule of law falters, warning that security without justice fuels resentment. Speaking as special guest of honor at the Democratic Governance, National Security and the Rule of Law lecture at Osrc State University's College of Law, Ifetedo campus, Aiyedatiwa stressed that these elements are practical pillars, not mere ideas. He commended universities as society's moral and intellectual backbone, with law colleges fostering inquiry, discipline, and debate. The governor, who linked democracy, security, and rule of law as essential for protecting rights, safety, and justice, cited Amotekun as a successful Southwest community policing model that thrives on state collaborations.
When a college of law convenes a discourse on strategic theme of this nature, it performs more than an academic function. It contributes to the shaping of our national consciousness. Therefore, I want to commend the College of Law for sustaining this intellectual tradition. This will be the fourth one, and I know we will have the fifth, the sixth, and so on. What we are doing or what we have done, because the lecture has been delivered here today, is not just a mere share of knowledge, but also speak directly into the defining imperatives of our time, the core of our national journey, the very essence of our nationhood, as we strive to strengthen governance structure in line with acceptable global best practices. This concept, democratic governance, national security, and rule of law, they are not abstract concepts. They define whether societies progress or stagnate, whether institutions endure or erode. And of a truth, we have just been reminded of the intricate link between democracy, security, and rule of law. And these pillars are fundamental to a thriving nation, ensuring citizens' rights, safety, and justice. The public trust is earned through fairness, transparency, and respect for institutions. The constitutional authority must be exercised within legal limits. We have so much power as government, executive governor of the state, but that power should be exercised within limits of the law.
That was the Ondo State Governor, Lucky Aiyedatiwa, speaking there at the Democratic Governance, National Security and the Rule of Law lecture at Osun State University's College of Law, Ifetedo campus. Moving on, President Bola Tinubu has paid tribute to the late head of state, General Murtala Muhammad, describing him a military officer with democratic credentials whose leadership left a lasting mark on Nigeria's political evolution and Africa's liberation struggle. The president spoke at the 50th Murtala Muhammad International Lecture and Leadership Conference held in honor of the late leader. Represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, Tinubu said Muhammad possessed democratic blood in his veins. He praised Muhammad for implementing a transition program during his brief tenure to return Nigeria to presidential democracy. Also, former President of Malawi, Joyce Banda, described the late general her hero and a distinguished son of Africa whose entire life centered on selfless service to his people without enriching himself. The Senate Committee on Finance has interrogated the Accountant General of the Federation, AGF Shamsuddin Ogunjimi, over zero capital votes for most ministries, departments and agencies, MDAs, in the 2025 budget, mounting unpaid contractor bills and the whereabouts of 28 trillion naira in reported revenue. Chairman of the Senate Committee, Sani Musa, accused the AGF's office of an unfriendly stance, demanding shifts from envelope budgeting to performance-based systems. The Senate questioned revenue gains from fuel subsidy removal and forex harmonization. In his response, Ogunjimi attributed delays to unbacked MDA contracts now banned. The committee adjourned to a closed-door session with the AGF's budget approval hanging in the balance. The Pentecostal Fellowship of Nigeria, PFN, has called for the balanced representation of Christians in the 2027 elections. The Christian body also kicked against the call for the removal of the chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor George Amokwito. President of the Fellowship, Wale Oke, who hailed the partnership between Nigeria and the United States of America aimed at tackling insecurity ravaging parts of the country, condemned the killings of Christians and other citizens by terrorists, describing the act evil and sought more government action. Speaking further, the fellowship expressed support for the Nigerian people in the outcry against the attempt to avoid the passage of real-time transmission of election results. PFN commended the efforts of the federal government in combating the insecurity but demanded more action to curb terrorism. The Court of Appeal Abuja Division has reserved judgment in 9 appeals filed by rival factions of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) over Federal High Court's decision halting the party's November 15 and 16, 2025 National Convention held in Ibadan, Oyo State. The convention produced Tanimo Turaki, the national chairman of the PDP, alongside other national officers. A 3-member panel of the appellate court fixed judgment for a date to be communicated to the parties after the adoption of all written processes in the appeals. The 9 appeals arose from 3 separate judgments delivered by Justices James Omotosho, Peter Lufu, and Joyce Abdulmalik of the Federal High Court, Abuja. Now to Rivers State, where tensions have risen in Iguata community, Ikwere local government area of the state, following the killing of a youth leader, Festus Nchelam, by suspected herders. The incident sparked a peaceful protest by residents demanding justice and enhanced security in the area. The youth of the community staged a protest carrying placards and demanding an end to cattle rearing, motorcycle operations and scavenging activities in the area. Festus, a former secretary of Omowe community in Uguluta, was reportedly killed during an attack, with the assailants fleeing the scene immediately after. Following the killing, Ikwere local government chairman Charles Charles Wobodo banned motorcycle operations in Oguruta until further notice. Outside Nigeria, Japanese authorities say they have seized a Chinese fishing vessel that tried to flee when ordered to stop for an inspection in a move that may further fuel tensions with Beijing. The boat was in Japan's exclusive economic zone of Nagasaki Prefecture, where it was intercepted and its captain arrested. The seizure is the first time since 2022 that the country's fisheries agency has seized a Chinese fishing boat. There were 11 people aboard, including the captain, who is a 47-year-old Chinese national. China has yet to react to Japan's statement. And that's Developing Stories. Thank you for watching, but stay with us as Perspectives continues. Good morning.
Welcome back from the newsroom. You're still very much tuned to Perspectives on Osrc television, and tomorrow is Valentine's Day, February 14, 1-4 is Valentine's Day. So this morning we're looking at issues regarding family, love, relationship, and that's our question this morning. Our focus is on marrying into a hostile family. We are asking you is it worth it marrying into a hostile family? And we said you can join the conversation on 0706 325 5428, 0706 325 5428. Is it worth it marrying into a hostile family? We've been able to talk on it, which are good. Shall they say no one better? Osrc say it's better to marry the good man even if the family is hostile. Me, I'm sitting on the fence. It is better to, I don't know, maybe family to be good at this time, man. But the truth is, most time, man way bad, You get way bad, you not go listen. No matter who your parents are, might not be able to talk to you. I've seen cases where the man refuse to listen to anybody. He does what he wants. He will tell you, go. Even if you feel you want to report, go. When he reach there, now let him go talk, and he'll tell you, this is what I want to do. This is my life. This is my marriage. This is my home. And he's going to
talk about spousal murder all the time. Now, before these family members will come to your house to come and resolve whatever it is, with cases like this, not come up every time. So that is why I'm still on the stance that still get married to a man that loves you. We've not really heard about cases where family members came to the house to kill you get, but we always get to hear cases of a man killing the wife or the wife killing the husband. You understand? So that's why my stance is okay, get married to a good man if at least. Because if anything happened in the house today or tomorrow now, the family, before they will come to where they are living to come and separate fight, what we want to happen would happen.
That's true. I read something history yesterday. You know, it's talking about a South African prince who married a white lady, and you know, then back in the days when there was apartheid in South Africa, and then there is legislation against blacks marrying whites, so both of them were ostracized, both in their countries. You know, at some point the man was on what's it called, exile in Britain, while the lady was in his hometown. They separated them, so to speak. And despite the fact that the man was a prince, but these two people, okay, at some point they said, okay, choose between this marriage and your inheritance as a prince who's supposed to ascend the throne.
Yes.
And he chose his family, he chose his wife, and they said, in that case, both of you leave the country. You know, they stayed outside the country for a while. It was only the woman that can travel back to the South African country. The man remains in Britain. And after a while, you know, with African movement for politics and all of that, the man joined politics, you know, had a political party and eventually became the first president. You know, I think is it Botswana now? So that's to say that love can, as Isis has said, well, if you choose the man, you guys can decide to go on exile. I don't want to turn to the family, you know, start your own from there. You can change your name, son, be like, you want to
in African setting, it's hard because when you're married into the family. You're not just marrying the man, you're not just marrying the woman. It's a whole lot.
And I will tell you, marriage is between the two families.
So then, another trick you can play, the whole family can be 100% bad.
So you choose favorites.
So you run your way into those who know already like you.
Yes.
Those ones will run their way. Use you to run their way into the ones that don't like. And as time goes on,
everybody gets to see you.
Get to you when you get into if you can pick one or two more calls, but my dear sister, my dear brother, it is you. So it's better to, if you have them both, hey,
you're blessed. Yeah.
It's not as if you know, you still get small challenge.
It's easily resolved.
It's easily resolved. So it's nice for you to have the good families, the good spouse, you know, the loving spouse, the loving family member, both ways, you know, so that you can
sleep well. You can sleep peacefully.
You will say, you know, whatever other challenges that might arise in secondary, both of you with the love you both share, with the family backing you have behind you, it will happen now. But take the weights first. You be okay, the lucky key. That is which other, you know, don't go on like yourself. You know that sometimes too, rough.
Yeah,
yes.
You don't have an advantage. We want peace, alright. Alright, see if you can still call in. I will pick your calls before we go to the next part of the show. 0706 325 5428. You can also drop your comments on our social media page, our Facebook page, on the topic we are looking at this morning. You can go there, Facebook Osrc TV Undo. That's our social media page. Go to YouTube, watch us live. It's a lot for you. But then before I move to the next part of the show, today, February 13, is World Radio Day. Yes, and you know that OSRC Media Group we have 2 radio stations, and many Bus to Bubble do know we run 24 hours both radio and television. So Orange 94.5 FM and Sunshine 96.5 FM. Alalaye, it's the ground for you to enjoy 24 hours with us. World Radio Day. The theme for this year is theme history, significance. Okay, let me take the theme. It has to do with AI. Significance annually observed on February 13, the day celebrating the founding of United Nations Radio in 1946. World Radio Day is a global celebration which is observed annually on this day, and this day is on today, February 13, on a Friday it is. So it highlights that technology, especially AI, when used ethically and responsibly, can build trust and strengthen its link with listeners. And say the world now is a global village. So AI has taken over. It has taken over. I'm trying to get the theme for the celebration, but if I get it later, I'll let you know. It's a radio and artificial intelligence. AI is a tool, not a voice. That's the thing. Radio and artificial intelligence. AI is a tool, not a voice. So
that's quite significant, because there's this fear of AI is there to take over and all of that. But AI cannot be emotional. Yes, can't take initiative on the spot. Has to be prompted. And that's how we talk about what prompts did you give to AI to respond to you. But human beings can take initiative. They can, they know what to say at the right time. They know what they tone of voice to use without being told. What the atmosphere is like in a particular community. If you're to douse a tension, if you are to incite excitement, like we're trying to do now, making you feel like, see, love is essential and it's in the hair and you can feel it. But if it were some AI, programmed for today's reality, you just come and say, yes, that's all. There's no human face to it. So that's good. AI is to aid our work. It's to aid our work. It's not taken over. So we still need that human voice. And I remember some people saying they found companionship, in radio. Listening to radio, especially for the elderly, and that is to to streaming or ending, online. They listen to their radio, and it's so nice because it's regulated. It's not just like when you're surfing online and everything is regulated. Some kind of music to be played. Then, as I said earlier, the presenters, that come to speak to you, they already know what it's like today in that environment, and they are able to speak to their listeners. People's heart have been lifted. We've heard people say they were on the verge of suicide, but when they listen to someone speak on radio, and they just felt uplifted and said, no, you see, I'm going to face it. And we're living today.
Yes, as you rightly enumerated, radio plays a very significant role in the society. And over a century, it's been playing that role. I mean, like you rightly mentioned, a client, we were talking yesterday, and he said, do you know the youths don't listen to radio? It's the elderly that listen to radio. They are the one who enjoys the program you do and all that. If you think I'm going to come on air to talk to youth, they are on net surfing and doing all they can. Most of them don't listen to radio, but at least we still have that reasonable population listening to the radio. And of course, that's why we have programs that cut across all ages.
And the radio stations are also online. It's unfortunate that it's not even getting outside. They bought TikTok. In fact, most countries are banning TikTok now. It's not having regulations.
So there's a lot of work. It gives you information. It entertains you and enlightens you. So radio is deep. Stick to your radio. That's why I'm not saying
to 96.5 FM.
Orange 94.5 FM. Okay, so that's it. Another thing. Let's move to our next part of the show because the truth is time then be waka. I'm starting with this morning. The People's Democratic Party (PDP) has warned that the Senate insertion of an escape clause, escape clause, allowing manual transmission of election results where technology is set to fail poses a threat in 27 general elections. The PDP also described the Senate's latest reconsideration of real-time electronic transmission of election results as a move that is clever by half and a veiled attempt to undermine electoral transparency. The Senate last week voted against mandating real-time electronic uploading of results after counting, citing concerns about infrastructure and technological failure differences. This sparked protests from civil society organizations and labor unions pushing that real-time electronic transmission from polling units to a central server would significantly reduce incidents of result manipulation, voting and falsification during collation, problems that have repeatedly undermined public confidence in elections. However, the Senate on Tuesday approved both, electronic and manual transmission of results.
The question is this: what was the intention or the goal or the reason why electronic transmission was brought forth in the first place? So if we are saying electronic transmission is to build credibility in the electoral process and the result, then why are we going back to the manual way of transmission that has been termed not credible and not reliable? So until we tend to actually get it right. Now the thing is, what is the reason for a cause? And if the reason is this, then why are we making room for both of them to stand side by side?
Well, probably still looking at the Nigerian situation, like some people have come to say in the area, there's no network, you can't trust power supply, the machine may malfunction, you understand? And if that's loophole is not allowed, you understand, we could have a large number of voters disenfranchised or vote in futility in a situation where a whole community or district voted, and because there was a fault somewhere, the votes can't be transmitted. But leaving that loophole, to me, I think is still a way so that nobody would be disenfranchised. Actually, can everybody be absolutely satisfied with a system?
Now I'm going to come again and say this: if we actually want it to work, we will make it work. Now we're talking about network. Now during the whole voting,
remember, voting is just a day. It's not like by tomorrow they can say, okay, come back if you're unable to. Yes, we'll address the network issues of power.
No, that is why they can actually put in the work and say before 2027, these are things that should be put in place to ensure that the electronic transmission work. Now, if you're already giving room for that clause, that means you won't want to do so much to ensure that the electronic transmission work, because you're already saying, oh, if this one does not work, we can actually do this one. So tell me where the effort is going to come in. Now let's remember now that these communities that we're talking about, they're also trying to put in CBT examinations for them. They have JAM centers. I think at least one community should have a JAM center. When you're writing JAM CBT, like you said, it's also a day. I don't think people write JAM.
They can reschedule that, and that doesn't call for that.
But then they also make use of network. Now we have different service providers that they can come together and say, okay, you already have your cables in social communities. How can we extend it to these communities that are low in network coverage? And also last week we had a call from, I can't remember. Yes, and they said you don't even need a 5G to make this thing work. They said as little as 3G. It will go through, it will connect. So how can the government work with the service provider and see, okay, how can we ensure that these loopholes, this place that we feel, there's a language that always use, they say technical glitches.
Yes,
that these technical glitches will not come in play. So I think if they actually want it to work, they can allow it to work. But this coming after the whole controversy and back and forth between transmission and transfer, and then they're like, okay, the transmission is there, not to look as if they did not give us the transmission, but then there is also a space for the manner. No, if you want the electronic to be there, the thing is, what are we trying to achieve with the electronic transmission? If we are looking at what we're trying to achieve, then I don't see why the manner should be standing next to it.
Exactly. And then, when the former INEC chairman, he started this whole e-transmission,
yes,
and the media, I've forgotten now, but with this electronic stuff, and he has a reason. He didn't just come about it like we should just put it aside and still be managing and be saying network failure will happen and all that. And then it works in other countries.
Yes.
Must we always limit ourselves to say Nigeria factor? What is the Nigeria factor that cannot be solved if our leaders are ready to make it work? The question is, are they ready to solve this Nigeria factor? This same factor, electronic voting, is what is being used in the developed countries, and it's working. Our people travel there, and I'm sure that is what he also saw to say, okay, fine, but this can work in Nigeria.
The process we're talking about right now is still quite different from the electronic voting.
Yeah, we're not even going to electronic
voting. If we can do electronic voting, then we can transmit results electronically.
I think the best line is that Nigerians just want a free and fair election.
You make our election credible. But is the electronic
voting or the e-transfer of votes, will it curb, manipulations?
If it will not curb it, then I don't see why people are being hesitant on actually putting it out there and ensuring that it works.
You see, the major changes, the legislative changes and rejections, especially this electronic transmission of results, especially plus 60, the Senate rejected a proposed amendment to make the electronic transmission of results mandatory. And the rejected proposal would have required presiding officers, to transmit polling unit results at the polling unit to the IREF portal in real time.
Yeah.
After forms are already signed. In
fact, the coordination could have been going simultaneously.
The moment it's being counted at the polling, you transmit it every time.
And so we're adding up.
Exactly. And it will reduce a lot of this, although we are having reduced cases of ballot box matching.
That one is taking,
and then when you still have ballot papers is already signed and it's being stopped, and a lot of things. I think after the protest, that we had the protest, the civil society group, they protested. I'm trying to remember the name of the tagged protest now. It was tagged. That's when, before then, the Senate had called for emergency sitting to be able to resolve the issue. And a lot of people were kind of apprehensive and when we were hoping that they would do right by what the wrong they did before. But unfortunately, this is the outcome. It's not something. This is being smart. So for PDP to cry wolf, and people, Nigerians, are still crying wolf, I don't think the national leaders in the Senate actually dealt with this the way they should have done, or go in the way of Nigerians. Let's move ahead. Similar governor of River State, Similar Ifubara, has dissolved the State Executive Council. In a statement issued last night by Onwuka Nzechi, that's its Chief Press Secretary, CPS, Fubara asked all commissioners and special advisors to hand over to the permanent secretaries or the most senior officers in their respective ministries. Talk already on this again.
Well, I think it was expected.
Okay.
Because NSC was the essence of having followers that are not loyal to you. You understand? And if his government is going to work, then he needs to work with people that are loyal to him. So I just believe he does not trust their loyalty, hence why he dissolved them.
Well, I also say, is it part of the agreement reached? Because recently we know that the president held a meeting with the minister of FCT and the governor himself and some leaders, and they came out to say Ijate Pario, as in the Wahala don't handle. In fact, Governor Fubara went ahead to call Wiki Naoga, you know. So could it be part of the agreements reached that if you are not comfortable with this set of people, okay, let them go, let's work to is it
maybe it's a way of reshuffling the cabinet so that both Wiki and Fubara will have a stake. It wouldn't be as if all the state executives belong to certain person camp. So I guess
but you know, when you all put it this way, it keeps making Fubara look like he doesn't have a voice of his own. That it was that what they agreed. Not agreed, more like proposed to him.
So much that they should decide their peace now and consider the people. It's not about the two
at this time.
It's about the state. What's going to move the state forward? That should be the ultimate.
Yes, true.
That should be the ultimate. It's about the people and not your selfish interest. Usually, and that's what a lot of people are already now saying. Like, that's what is playing out with these two giants in River State. United States lawmakers have introduced a bill alleging widespread persecution of Christians in Nigeria, a move that has sparked diplomatic and policy debate over the country's security and religious freedom challenges. The proposed legislation, sponsored in the U.S. Congress, seeks to strengthen oversight of religious freedom conditions in Nigeria and compel closer monitoring of violence linked to faith-based communities. When asked to react to the bill on Wednesday, Nigeria's Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, declined to comment. The minister's silence comes amid heightened international scrutiny of Nigeria's security situation and sectarian tensions in parts of the country.
The big question is, why is it that the U.S. always have to intervene? The U.S. always have something to say regarding our own country, and then the ministers, they don't even have anything to say. Now, with what just came out, I'm still asking, like, okay, now we see even the U.S. also came out to say that the Chinese illegal miners are the ones funding terrorism, and the federal government has nothing to say about it, and they're silent. It says a lot. It says a lot.
It says a lot, of course. Nigeria has been living like a baby to the Western world. We're always looking forward to be saved, to be rescued, to watching out for their body language before they take actions, you know. And it doesn't make Nigerians feel good. It doesn't make us feel good as Nigerians that, you know, it's like you have a daddy who does not have a say. He has to wait for maybe his other brother to come and say, how dare your neighbor treat you like this, you know, to come and fight for you. That kind of a father may not have respect even with his children. Yes,
but it's time the federal government actually take charge.
Yes.
Now, whether it's a Christian genocide or it's Muslim, but regardless, we cannot.
Nigerians,
you understand that we need to also speak about how the security agency or the security of even the country is deteriorating. You understand? So these are things that needs to be addressed, and it should not take the interference of the U.S. passing a bill or saying it's the Chinese miners that are funding terrorism before the federal government will do something. But in this case, they are even silent.
You know that Nigeria has consistently maintained that the security challenges are complex and not solely driven by religion.
Yes.
Or, you know, they are largely, they say, it's terrorism, banditry, communal clashes, and all other forms of criminal activities that has been happening within the nation. But whatever nomenclature we give to it, Nigerians just want peace. They just want to be able to wake up, sleep with our 2 eyes closed, and then be able to go about our lawful duties, you know, without the fear of being kidnapped, being killed, or being maimed. That's just it. And they should please try and do so. And I think if they're able to deliver on this too, other Western nations that are constantly, you know, infringing on our sovereignty, you know, coming to have a forceful say on our issues, would not. You know, despite the presence of the U.S. Army in Nigeria, still see the things that happened in Kwara and even in Benue. The massacre.
There is also talk that U.S. troops are on ground here in Nigeria. You know, and recently, just within the week, the U.S. has also started pinpointing some individuals. You know,
I think it's that we need.
Yes,
those
individuals. One also was named the former defense minister, the former one-time governor. And of course, and some other groups have also been pinpointed. But then some other people are even rejecting that. But the question, which was the question you asked initially, should we wait for the US to do this for us in our country? Why must we move on? The National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, has dismissed claims that the federal government ordered it to suspend enforcement of the ban on sachet and pet bottled alcohol. Earlier this month, NAFDAC began implementing the nationwide prohibition on the production and the sale of alcohol packaged in sachets and polythene terephthalate PET bottles. However, reports circulating on social media on Wednesday suggested that the agency had been instructed to halt the ban's enforcement. In a statement signed by its Director General, Mojisola Adeyeye, NAFDAC described the report as false and misleading, stressing that it had received no directive from the federal government to suspend its regulatory activities. We just want to continue doing bad in this country. I'm sure some people came up with that just to allow these things to go on. We know the dangers of this sachet alcohol and PET bottle. For those who take alcohol, we know the dangers it does.
The danger it constitutes to the environment.
To the environment.
They don't degrade.
Yes,
the bottles, sachet don't degrade. They're not degradable. So it's polluting the environment. And we know what heartwarming is all about, and all of this. But the problem is that this is not the first time that such a position will be brought out. And before you know it, then the regulatory bodies will say, oh, we are considering that the manufacturers have had certain consignments, maybe they should have exhaust what's on ground, then negotiations. So the producers won't rest. They keep trying to see how they can push their lots, because it's a two-way thing. If they stop, they wonder the people working in those companies, what will be their job? If you ban sachet water, those of us are just going on the street and you feel thirsty.
They're not banning sachet water.
Well, no, some states are going to say that they're going to ban sachet water as well. So how do we get water to?
You go for the bottled water.
Okay.
Maybe they'll do it.
What about the bottles too?
Okay, the bottles too. Actually, what you said, this thing they start now, this issue of banning and all that, there was a time they put it on hold. I'm sure because the manufacturers and all that are pushing for it to go. But because now they've resolved that it has to happen, and that's why we're having this fake news, coming up to say it's been halted, and we have to really look at it. Also, you talk about the environment. What about your health? What about accidents? The drivers, most of them before they go on a journey, especially commercial drivers, they are loaded. What about Okada? Dear sister, not for the road. Sometimes you want to hike a bike, and then the man speaks to you. He oozes of alcohol, and you're wondering, how will this man take me from this point to my destination safely? Sometimes you don't have a choice. Probably you're in a hurry and you're leaving some 23 on the bike for you to arrive at your destination safely. So I think
let's see how it works. But I'm just don't let me be pessimistic, because I'm kind of skeptical that
it
has to work. Because the impact. What about the roads?
But then I love the stance that NAFDAC is taking. Yes. He's saying that the enforcement of the ban is still
let's see, when we can achieve this, then we achieve a lot with our drug-related cases.
Okay.
I mean, if they need to, it goes back to what we're saying about this electronic transmission of results. It's time we start making those work in Nigeria.
Okay. Let's hope. I want to join you in that line of thought that it's going to work this time.
Oh, that's to work. That's to work, because there are protests. I know that there are ongoing protests against shutting down factories of such productions, like you said. But then the ban must work, because in the impact it has on the drivers, on the road drivers, even the Agbalagba drivers. And all that. Security agents on Thursday allegedly attempted to arrest former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai upon his arrival at the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport, Abuja, from Cairo, Egypt. The claim was made by El-Rufai's media advisor Miriwa Adekeye in a post on his verified X platform, formerly Twitter. Shortly after the incident, according to Adekeye, the operators approached the former governor as he disembarked from his flight and sought to take him into custody. He said El-Rufai declined to accompany the agents, insisting that he would not honor the request without a formal invitation. The statement read, and I quote, security agents today attempted to arrest Madam Nasir El-Rufai as he arrived on a flight from Cairo. So, but then before then, we know that also it's as if, can we say that there's a video to this story as well. Once we have it, we can let it roll. It's as if he had premonition, because he already said, okay, that's the video.
Invite him and then he will.
you can say this one to my case of power pass power. Because see his supporters, they are kept saying, now our God, they never take her. Now our God, that kind of a thing. I think I also mentioned the fact that his passports were seized there. But when we were taking the dailies, remember a story says he has agreed to honor the invitation on Monday. You know, he will go by himself to them, not them.
But I think that's how it should be.
Yes.
If you have something to address, you do it the proper way. You invite him over. It's not looking like an ambush. They were just waiting for him to come down from the aircraft, and then they just said, okay, you're coming with us. Things are not done that way. And secondly, you said he hinted already that he knows that they will be coming for him. He said because most of his colleagues has been picked. And he said since he also defected from the All Progressive Party to the ADC, that he feels like they've been after him. And just shortly after I said this, they came for him again. So this shows, like you said, power pass power. It's also
political pattern in Nigeria. As such, because even he has played it at some point.
Yes,
when he was governor of Kaduna State, quite a lot of things happened. Quite a number of people were not satisfied with his style. Yes, the Christians in Kaduna complained when they had his successors became people of the same faith and all of that. So he knows the pattern. Don't forget that he was very active in this government coming to power.
Yes,
he was very active.
Yes.
What happens in Nigeria?
The ministerial appointments.
Most of the time, politicians will support a particular candidate and say, oh, this person is a messiah, vote and vote. And then shortly after the elections, probably after something goes wrong, then they begin to say, oh, I regret. Then that's when they see the other side of the person.
I think you need to move on.
The truth is political interest.
So
that's why as Nigerians, follow your own mind. Don't follow
Yes. All right. Tempers flared on Wednesday at the budget defense session of the Ministry of Steel Development. Senator Natasha Akpoti-Biara, PDP Kogi Central, engaged in a heated exchange with the chairman of the Senate Committee overseeing the ministry. That's Professor Patrick Umaboze, following nearly 4 hours of deliberation. The session, which focused largely on the state of the Ajaokuta State Company and several memorandum of understanding MOUs, entered into by the ministry grew tense after prolonged questioning by members of the committee. Trouble again began when Senator Akpoti-Biara continued a line of inquiry after hours of scrutiny, pressing ministry officials for further clarification. We have the video. We can have it.
Let us call it a please for the minister.
It's very important,
when
please.
We come for investigative.
No, Honorable Minister, please, I'd like to say this.
Mr. Minister.
No, please, do not hit the gavel. I still have something to say, and I think you should respect me enough. Please don't do that.
I'm giving you respect.
No, that's not it.
Mr. Minister, your
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Then that's fine.
I think
you disrespected me more than enough.
No.
No, you can't do this to me. You can't. You spoke enough to allow me to speak. I have something very vital to interface with the minister. And it doesn't matter if I've spoken once or twice. This is an interactive session. And you agree that we have not met with the minister enough. Only God knows when next we are going to meet with him as a committee.
That's the video of what transpired between Natasha. Someone will say Natasha again. She's in the news again, but this time around, maybe for the right reason.
I like her insistence.
Yes, she's been on this Ajaokuta Steel issue for quite a long time. It's in her state, Kogi State, and of course, it's part of the reason she gave that is making the Senate president to go. That each time she wants to present this, now they have the opportunity to sit with the Minister of Steel, and she's going to be allowed to talk. I don't know.
I'm glad that there's an video evidence because I think she was very polite and the man actually disrespected her. This is not a thing of, oh, where's the evidence? What happened? I think this is very clear. She actually told him, oh, please, I would like to say something. The fact that he acted like he did not even hear her speak, even though she was seated very close to him.
Don't
and he still did it, you understand? So it's I would say they are after Natasha at this point.
Committee too. Why don't you give it the whole time it needs to really get to the bottom of the matter? Let's talk about the Ajaokuta. What needs to be said should be said. And it's as if she was so much about exactly the shadow of itself. It seems she knows so much about the company. It seems it's one of the reasons she even violates her politics so that there could be a revival of that company. So why is it that you won't allow her to wash?
Ajaokuta Steel Company would have done a lot for this country.
Yes.
Positively. I grew up there, so I know how it used to be. If you go to Ajaokuta now,
the memory,
it's a shadow of itself. And we've been praying. The first time I encountered with whites, the Russians, the Germans, the Indians, they always try to, it has gone. Let's move on quickly. I would like us to take 2 more stories. The assignments is becoming too much. We don't tire. That's a woman, a Lagos woman who complained about the assignment that is being given to the children, and she said, look at me, I'm not nearly crazy because I just finished doing projects for my 5-year-old son. The project at this point is giving oil company projects. What is the problem? Please, we have the video. Let's quickly have it on air as this woman begged. In fact, she may need to beg. If you have it, please put it on.
The assignment is becoming too much. We don't tire, this assignment got too much, What is going on? We are getting 6 assignments every single day. Our children are overstimulated. When they come back home, they don't even want to write because they're tired. They've been in school all day. They come back, they have 6, 4, 5 assignments. Guess what? They'll finish their assignment, they will go to bed, they will wake up at 6, they are in school, they are learning. They will come back, we are giving them 6 assignments, 5 assignments. What is going on? Look at me. I want nearly crazy because I don't finish doing project for my 5-year-old. The project at this point is giving way. It's giving oil company projects. What is the problem? I beg people to help us. Let us say government looking through it. The assignment done too much. Even if we are jobless, we go to work, we come back, there's traffic. Just the small child will go to assignment and they give them 6 assignments. Some of these children come back by 3, some come back by 5. They are tired and you're giving them 7 assignments. What is the problem? What is going on? Even if the parent is jobless, they sit at home, we clean, we cook, we do everything. Small child mama go tell us, man, give pikin 7 assignments, we don't tire, At this point, these children are overstimulated. They are not even learning again, they're just going through classes and going through school. They are acting like zombies. They wake up by 6, they stay in school till 4, till 2, they come back, they do assignments, people are going, what did they happen? 6 assignments every day. My people want about 2020 now, my past 7 assignments due with project. I beg.
Schools usually close by 2.
Well, it's still doing, but I've never done even extra lesson.
Schools close by 2. You go home, you come back for evening lesson. 4 to 6. He has given the societal issues now at the distance from junior school. Well, that's not obtainable anymore. But at least we had our siesta, took our lunch and went back for extra lesson.
I feel a pain. Please, the teachers, no matter reduce assignment for children. This one will take it quickly. Just the 1 or 2 statement about Two-Face Ibibia saying he's not a humanizer, he's just a lover boy. What's the difference between a lover boy and a humanizer?
If you are a lover boy, at least stick to what is even a humanizer? That's the first question. So I think he moves more to the side of a humanizer. A humanizer is someone that is with more than 1, 2, 3 women at the same time. And then a lover boy, a lover boy, that you know where you go.
I mean, love to go around.
Enough.
I like Kunle Afalayon's own perception says is and is eager, for his divorce proceedings to be over, so he can marry multiple wives. So he can fully embrace polygamy. But I think that's Baba's problem. Baba, in fact, before even marrying in the first place, before the first marriage, he should have known that his own kind of person. He should have married. He should have been polygamy. Exactly. Nobody would have criticized him.
Eventually, he never at any time said he's a woman man. So
what drove him to marry someone other than
this is your party shot.
The party shot. Congratulations to Papa, because him and Natasha.
Yes, just
one more Divya.
Alright, Divya,
Of course, it's the weekend. Do enjoy your weekend, and tomorrow is Valentine. Please stay safe. It's not the time for you to keep late night or do things that are not necessary.
Please do not do what you won't be proud of afterwards. And remember, say what you mean and do what you say.
Alright, that's wraps it all. Yes, Shade, thank you so very much. Tomorrow is Val's Day. Please touch someone's life. Positively. Please. I'll tell you again next week Friday. Then maybe I will come celebrate my birthday on the show. I don't know. Bye bye. We'll meet again. Alright, from Jose. Goodbye.